Perfect. Okay, so we're going to run through some of the new features that we added in this version. We just had version 13, but we made quite a few interesting changes in this last version. So we've got a new back-to-back version, version 14. So I'm Nicole Jardin. I'm the founder and CEO of Emerald, actually joining today from Montreal. And Sue Familia will be doing the actual showing of the software, and she's in Wyoming. She's one of our implementation specialists. And we've got Ravi Wallo, of course, with us, and he is in Brazil, and he's the lead programmer from our team on the P6-Loader. So in this version, we've added some pretty interesting features, really dealing with the resource assignments more thoroughly than what we had in the past. We had a few clients that needed it, and we just never got it built the way we want it. So we finally got that done in this version. In doing that, we also enhanced the user permissions and controls in the tool. And sorry, it's going too fast for me. User permissions in the tool and how you control what you're putting in to the load. So Sue will run through that. And that's related to the record action. So what do you actually want the record action to do? So I think I mixed up two features there. So we also had more controls over what a user is allowed to do. Some of our clients were nervous to give the loader to as many people as they want it, just because we're trying to enhance the user permissions and the record action. So when you actually load something, you might find that you load it again and it starts giving all these messages like, this is already in there. And you're like, yeah, I know that. So you have better control over what you want done in each load with the record actions in the column. So again, Sue will show you that. And then in our previous version, version 13, we had layout controls that we had built into the system. But again, we didn't have them fully built out the way we want it. So we were able to add additional options on how to back up layouts, okay? Similar to what we added with the backing up of projects. So this is automating and dealing with the layout backups better. So you don't have to do all these exports every so often. You can have it automated, which just gives you that peace of mind that if someone does muck up a layout, you can bring it back much more quickly. Okay, so those are really the key features. And did I miss anything? Added shifts. Okay, so again, a few of our clients needed the ability to control the shifts. That's primarily if you're doing turnarounds or hourly scheduling. So it's not everyone who necessarily needs this. So we wanted to add the controls over the shifts into the system. And this feature maybe should have been with the other set, but we also added a better ability to clear a field. Okay, so that was confusing because sometimes it was a null, or you weren't sure if it was a null or a delete or what you needed to do to try and clear a field, like a user-defined field, for example. So we've added better controls on that. Ravi, did I explain that properly?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Well, Sue's going to show it in action. Yeah. So if something I said was a bit unclear,
the details there.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. All right. Okay. Good. So I think Sue, if you want to go ahead and show some of the stuff in action. Okay.
Okay, so just a few slides here that say, kind of take a preview of what you're going to see. For user permissions, we have some additional options here for each user. So instead, you have to authorize them, but then you can choose what you want each user to be able to do. With the resource UDFs, these are automatically created when you pull out your file, and then you can manipulate them as you go along. And then with our record action column, of course, that is, you can put in each row, what you expect to happen on that row, just as an added form of control. And then, of course, our layout backup option. Now with shifts, because of the limitations of the API, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ravi, we can only bring out the information for the shift name and the start hours there. But I do believe you can edit your shift names.
You can, yes, you
that.
can change your shift information, the header, but there is no method in the API to edit the shift hours. But we can extract it, and also when you convert an XCR or XML file, this information will be present in the converted Excel file, but there is no API method to edit them. I think it's the same reason why you cannot edit them through the web interface. You can only edit the shift periods with the client. They have a limitation around shifts about where you can edit them.
Okay. So I'm just going to jump in and start sharing my screen so that we can take a look at some of these features in action. So first of all, I want to visit the duplicate resource loading. So when we do a duplicate resource, oh, let me get back. I'm having trouble finding my P6. There it is. Got to bring it over. Okay. So in our duplicate resource loading, in a lot of cases, you want to add a resource several times onto a particular activity. Now we're going to concentrate on these two activities up here at the top. And I do have some duplicates on these, as well as we're going to work and add a duplicate as well. So when you're pulling these out, you can see that unique ID is not there. I've just added them. They have not been worked with P6-Loader. But if I go into P6-Loader and I extract, I actually have a definition, which if you have not used definitions, they are pretty handy. And that definition is just going to pull out the pieces that I want to look at. So I've got, my ID, my unique ID, my resource, etc., that's going to pull out with that. And I'm going to pull it out from that project that I just showed you. So when I extract and I open up that file, what I'm going to see is, that didn't come out right.
No, why, Sue? If you go to your definition.
Yes, okay.
In the P6-Loader, in the columns that you have there, in the resource assignment tab. Yeah, click on the pencil. Remove the all from the right side.
Okay.
Yeah, then I'll try again.
It worked with that in there before, so I'm surprised. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and try to extract again.
Yep.
Okay, there we go. So I can see that when it pulled out those two activities with that resource assignment on that I now have unique IDs that have been assigned to them in that user-defined field. So if I go and refresh in P6, I can now see that those numbers are assigned. What this does is it helps P6-Loader understand whether you're adding a new one, whether you are going to alter an existing one, etc.
Just a bit of information about those unique IDs. They are unique per activity, and they are added based on the object ID of the resource assignment, which means that the oldest resource assignment gets 1, and then the newest one gets the higher value, and then it goes in that order. So those numbers are not random. There is a predefined order to them.
Okay. So let's say, for instance, I want to, and when I'm loading in, I could change these. I can set a different ID or a unique ID on it to suit my purposes. So if you don't like the 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., you could actually add a different unique ID. You could also change it. So if I wanted to change any of these, I could put a change in there as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new resource, and I'm going to give it a unique ID that doesn't match any of the other resources that I have there. If I don't do that, it's going to automatically just give it the next number when I load it. So when I load this, oh, I got to get to the right place. Sorry. When I load this, where I add this resource and assign a kind of out of sequence, if you will, unique ID, when I go in and refresh, I can now see that I have a duplicate scaffolder resource here, and it's got that unique ID on it. I just copied what was above in my other sheets, so everything came in as it needed to. So pretty simple, a lot more straightforward than the way that we had handled it before. P6-Loader is helping you actually number those as you go, and then when you are adding additional, you can set that unique ID if you want to there. So our next piece is that I want to talk about is our enhanced security here. So when I go in and I want to add users to use P6-Loader, like I said previously, I always have to authorize them. So no matter what kind of permissions I give them and what I say that they can do, I do have to authorize them. Now I can choose to allow them to work with all tasks, meaning, everything that you would do in, your extractions and your loading and all of that. I can also choose to whether they have. Go ahead.
Just a clarification on the all tasks. That means that they can see the task from all other users in the system.
Oh, okay.
Even though they are not a super user.
Okay.
That sometimes can be useful. You don't want them to be a super user, but you want them to see all tasks for whatever reason.
Okay, thank you. And then automation. This is whether they can see the automation area or not and work with it, and whether they can see the layout transfer area there. Now, if they are a super user, they can see everything. So you can kind of control what areas your users can access when they are using the tool. And of course, you would set that. We still do have the option to add teams into this. And as you saw, when I went and applied my layout or my definition, I had it in a team, which was the EAI demo team. And I can go back and I can show you that. But that's what enables people to see the teams here, and it'll mark which team that you are assigned to and can see. Now, with the record action column, I already have a sheet that is that's made up here. And it's the same activities that I handled with my resources, but I've added, or I have this additional record action screen on it. So if there's nothing there, it's going to go ahead and perform it, whether it's a change, an update, or an addition. But if I want to designate what I expect to happen when I load this file, I can choose either update or insert, and have that load as well, and make sure that this is only going to update and that I'm expecting this one to actually insert. So I'm going to go ahead and load this so we can see this insert and how we have our updates. So if I go back into P6, I'll just, we'll take a look at what our values are now. So we have 240 for our remaining units and our budgeted units, and we have, we're going to add that resource in there as well. So, and we're going to change the planned units on our first resource to 100 or 200, excuse me, and our second one to 160. So going in and loading this, no matter what I'm wanting to deal with here, it's actually going to dictate what is going to happen with that sheet, with that particular row. Like I said, if you do not have any record action on that row, it's going to load it as it, you know, it's going to look for changes or whether it is new, etc. But it just gives you a more concentrated level of control there. So I was able to see that I have, you know, 200 here. My 160 came in to my materials, and I do have my new resource here. So, but I clarified, I wanted to insert this one. I wanted to update the other one, and then the one without still did come in and do that change for me.
So can you show the case when you, I'm not sure if you have it prepared, when it's actually not matching the action that you expect? So basically, you do have control when you load the Excel file. If you look in the P6-Loader interface too, when you're loading a file in the Upload tab. I'm not sure if you're going to demo it now.
Well, I can do that. What I'll do is I'll just add a...
I think if you try to load that again, Sue,
uh-huh.
It will actually warn you on that row 4, because that one is actually saying insert, but it's going to want to do an update now.
Right. Okay. So I'll load this again.
Yeah, let's see that.
And then in my details,
yeah,
I have a warning. So the warning tells me that I have the action for that row is to insert it. However, it's already there. And so it's telling me that it needs to have an update type of action in order to handle that row in my sheet.
So when you load the Excel file in the Upload tab, you do have the option to configure that globally. It's one of the checkboxes. Can you go to the Upload interface too?
Yep.
Yeah, you do have the option to control that globally, but in some cases, you may want to control that per record. And that's what that gives you, the ability to control that per record. And also, if you have a file that you are loading regularly, for example, you want to ensure that you only do updates for your resource assignments, and you don't want to remember to need to come here and check that option, then you can just leave that record, that field set in the Excel file, and the loader will respect whatever is there. So it's useful that way.
Okay, so let me clarify what you're saying, Ravi. If I take off this enable inserts, enable updates, as long as I have that record file in there and it has a value in it, it will perform that.
No, it's end. So if you have, so if you disable insert here, it's disabled globally, no matter what is in the file.
Okay.
But the both things have to be respected basically when you're loading the Excel file.
Okay. Now, let me go and let's look at our option to back up our layouts. So that's in the database area, and it's when you set up your database for backups. We now have an additional check mark here to backup filters. So in this case, I am backing up my filters each day, and I am going to have that run every day. So in my jobs, when I go and I download my zip file for this, and I'm not going to extract it or anything, but I do want to show it. Taking a moment.
That must be a big backup file. Yeah, it's almost there, halfway.
Yep. Okay, so I have it here. I have now a compressed file or zipped file that is available that has all of my backups in it, or my backups for my layouts there. So if you do have a case where a layout has been altered and you want to restore it to its original form, you can use these to import that layout back in and restore that that layout from the backup. So it's really nice to have that happen automatically. I know that we have some clients who regularly export their layouts, and they do it manually every so often. But now you have the ability to back those up automatically, so you don't have to go in and do that manual piece anymore.
Just about the layouts, about that zip file, it does do user layouts, and it also does project layouts. It can do all it basically does all the layouts that you have in the database, filters and changes. And those files, the P6 client lets you load a layout file from the file system. So if you were to extract the contents of that zip file and load them with the P6 client, it would work. But also you have the ability to load the zip file with the P6-Loader itself. I think it's a new feature that we launched in version 13. So you can load the contents of that backup zip file. If you want, you could just extract the zip files, the layout files that you want to restore in a new zip file, and then you can load it back, and then it would restore them to the state that they were when the zip file was generated.
Okay. Thank you, Ravi. Now, with our extraction for our shifts, that is actually, I'm just going to blank this out so I don't have anything in there. And that is under my roles and resources, of course. And I have these two new options here to pull out the shift and the shift periods. So in extracting those, I will get two tabs. And one is the shift tab itself, where I could alter the name if I wanted to, or I could, in the case of the shift period, this is informational. So sometimes you're wanting to look at these shifts. Also, if I convert an XER or an XML using P6-Loader, so this convert here, that is going to include those shifts if I want them to. I would have to enable it, but I could include those shifts, and that would also come out when I converted my XER or XML, and I would see those two tabs. So I could see the shifts that were assigned in that particular file there. I'm not going to load back anything to change a shift. I think that's pretty apparent to those of you who have actually used the tool itself.
Just a comment. If you, for the clients that are watching the webinar, if you do have a need to add the shift periods, let us know, and then we can look into what it will take to do it. There are other ways that we can try to edit those objects that we don't have the API for. Just let us know if that's something that you need.
Absolutely.
It's usually such a simple thing to do. It only takes a few minutes. That's why most people would just do it manually. But
yeah.
Okay.
But the boon to this is that you can actually now see them and
Yeah,
in a
exactly.
P6-Loader file. So
Yeah.
that makes it, then all of your information is in your P6-Loader file and not just a select few unless you haven't enabled those in there.
Yeah, and if you're building shift calendars and stuff like that, you want to, well, I guess what I'm saying makes no sense. If you're building the resource rates and prices and availability, that's when those become more important to have them in Excel.
Right. Okay, so I have one more that I want to kind of show here, and that's that clear feature. So we've simplified it. Before, you would use a myriad of, it was maybe null, maybe it was delete, etc. To be more intuitive, to know, most people would think, okay, I want to clear that particular piece of data. So in this example, all I'm going to do is bring out some basics, and then I'm going to bring out all of my project codes and things like that. So that's why I need this all here. So I'm going to bring it out on a different project, which is this project here. And I'm going to change my layout. And I have some project codes that are assigned out here on my project. And I have put a number in my work order for my my post work, and I didn't want that number to be in there. I'm going through, I'm analyzing, and that is I don't want that number there. So I'm going to basically remove that work order there. So I'm going to go ahead and extract. So it will bring those project codes out. And have my project codes here, but the one I want to work with is actually my work order. So I'm going to bring it up here so we can see it a little bit better. And actually, I think I did that wrong. I think I needed to insert. There we go. So I want to essentially clear this out. So I'm going to put a clear. And because this is the only one I am changing, I can certainly put a space in between. So all it's going to load is that one record that I have that I've changed here. So you may already know this because you are users of P6-Loader, but I can keep the information on my sheet and just put what I want to change at the top. And P6-Loader will stop loading records at that blank line. So it already knows what to do with that. Now, I did actually already save this in my other, as an example there. So this is the one I'm going to load. To have to save it and all that and rename it just takes a little bit of time. So I'm going to not make you sit through that. So I'm going to upload that. And when I go back into P6 and refresh, I can now see, and I actually marked the different one. I did the install scaffolding. So it's taken out that work order number for me. That's not one that I needed to have in there. Maybe I'm waiting for a work order to come in and I might want to populate it later. But nonetheless, I can just clear out fields by putting clear instead of any of those other values that we that are available otherwise as well. So that is just a quick and dirty kind of show of what we have what we have improved on P6. Do we have any questions?
I don't see any right now.
Okay.
If you have any questions, you can throw them at us since we've got our team here. And if not, we can wrap up early too.
Okay. So I don't see any questions. So essentially, do you want to wrap up, Nicole, or?
Yeah, I think we can. I think we can. So Sally had asked if we can share the slides, and we will share most of the slides. I think we've got a bit of repetition in the slides, so we'll just simplify them and then get them out to you. And then you've got it to share within your team. What time is it in Brazil, Ravi? That's
Sorry,
one of the
Mr.
questions. What time is it in
It's
Brazil?
1:34 p.m.
Yeah. So it's just 1 hour earlier than Eastern time right now, but not in the winter, right, Ravi? That's when it's several
It's 2
hours
hours.
difference.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's 2 hours. We don't have DST anymore.
Yeah.
So it's 2
Oh,
hours
okay.
in the winter time and 1 hour otherwise.
Okay.
And the temperature is very warm right now. Finally, after a few cold days, I think it's up into the 80s today, the 25s, I think.
Okay.
Celsius.
Yeah. Well, we always laugh because Ravi did live in Calgary, and then of course he found it too cold and too far from home, so he went back home, and we get to beat him maybe 2 or 3 days in the year in terms of temperature when it's his winter and Calgary summer. So, okay, well, I guess we can wrap up here. It's thanks for attending, and we will have the open sessions. So if any of your colleagues didn't have a chance to attend, we have another one next week, I believe it is. So you're welcome to join that, and we will share. We will share some of the slides as well. Okay, great. Have a fantastic day. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.